Do you remember the sound of the Hill Valley clock tower chiming through that stormy night in 1955? Do you remember the moment that silver DeLorean lit up the parking lot? Racing through fire and lightning to break through time itself? 1985. The year Back to the Future changed everything. Directed by Robert Zemeckis. Written with Bob Gale. And produced by Steven Spielberg. This wasn't just a movie. It became part of our cultural DNA. Over $380 million at the box office, making it the biggest film of 1985, an Academy Award for Best Sound Editing, a franchise that would span decades. But more than numbers, Back to the Future gave us something timeless. The DeLorean became an icon. Time travel was etched into our collective imagination. And to this day, the film ranks among the greatest ever made. We fell in love with the characters. The teenager with the skateboard and guitar, the wild-haired scientist with impossible dreams, the awkward father who found courage, the beautiful mother, the bully who terrorized them all. Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly, Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown, Lea Thompson as Lorraine Baines, Crispin Glover as George McFly, Thomas F. Wilson as Biff Tannen, Claudia Wells as Jennifer Parker, James Tolkan as Mr. Strickland, Mark McClure as Dave McFly. These weren't just actors playing roles. They were our childhood heroes. The faces we idolized, the characters we quoted endlessly, the people who made us believe anything was possible. Back then, they were young, vibrant, on top of the world. But time doesn't stop for anyone. Nearly 40 years have passed since that DeLorean first hit 88 miles per hour. 4 decades since Great Scott echoed through theaters. An entire generation has grown up, grown older, watching time move forward. So where are they now? What happened to that kid with the guitar? Where's the eccentric scientist? What paths did their lives take after the cameras stopped rolling and the credits faded? Some continued shining in Hollywood's spotlight. Others stepped away, choosing different roads. Some faced challenges we never could have imagined. Today, we're taking our own journey through time, through the lives of 8 incredible people who gave us cinema's most beloved adventure. Let's start with Marty McFly. The red vest, the orange down jacket, the skateboard, that look of shock when he realizes he's prevented his parents from meeting, the way he says, "This is heavy." Michael J. Fox made Marty McFly iconic. At 23, Fox was already famous from Family Ties. But he wasn't the first choice Eric Stoltz had filmed for weeks before being replaced. Fox had to film his TV show by day, then shoot the movie all night, sleeping maybe 4 hours. Pure adrenaline and determination. It launched him into superstardom. Teen Wolf, The Secret of My Success. 2 more sequels. Throughout the late 80 seconds and early 90 seconds, Fox was unstoppable. Then, in 1991, at age 29, he noticed a twitch in his left pinky. After months of tests, early onset Parkinson's disease, for 7 years, he kept it secret, continuing to work, starring in Spin City, hiding his symptoms. But in 1998, he went public. Instead of letting it destroy him, Fox fought back. In 2000, he founded the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. Since then, it's funded over $1 billion in research, becoming the world's largest nonprofit Parkinson's funder. He continued acting selectively The Good Wife, The Good Fight, guest spots. In 2020, his fourth memoir, No Time Like the Future. Today, at 63, Fox has largely retired due to declining health, but his Foundation's work continues. In 2023, he released the documentary, Still About His Journey. The kid who raced through time now races to find a cure. But Marty couldn't have made that journey without his wild-haired, eccentric companion who dared to dream the impossible. Let's talk about Doc Brown. Great Scott. 2 words. That voice. Instantly, you see the wild white hair, the bug-eyed amazement, the intensity of a mind working on a different frequency. Christopher Lloyd didn't just play Doc Brown. He became him. Lloyd was 46 when filming began. Already an accomplished actor with 2 Emmys for playing Reverend Jim on Taxi. But Doc Brown was different, a role requiring manic energy, childlike wonder, and complete commitment to the absurd. Lloyd found Doc's voice through experimentation, that unique blend of enthusiasm and gravitas, the wild gestures, the way he pronounces 1.21 gigawatts. Every choice was deliberate, building a character both comedic and surprisingly touching. The film made Lloyd a household name. He returned for both sequels, and Doc Brown became his defining role, but he never let it limit him. Throughout the 90s and 2000s, Lloyd worked constantly. He played the villainous Judge Doom in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the Klingon Commander Kruge in Star Trek III, and Uncle Fester in the Addams Family films. Television roles in Cyberchase and countless guest appearances kept him visible. What's remarkable about Lloyd is his longevity and versatility. He embraced Doc Brown without becoming trapped by it, attending fan conventions warmly while pursuing diverse projects. Now 86 years old, Lloyd remains active. He appeared in Nobody in 2021, continues voice work, and regularly delights fans at Comic-Con events. His white hair is real now, making him look more like Doc than ever. In interviews, Lloyd speaks fondly of the role, understanding its impact. He's credited the character's optimism and belief in science as qualities worth celebrating. But Doc and Marty's journey wasn't just about them. It led us to Marty's parents, George and Lorraine, and their awkward, wonderful youth, starting with the nervous kid who found his courage. George McFly trembling before Biff, then finding the courage to throw that punch. The transformation from coward to hero in one perfect moment. Crispin Glover made George McFly unforgettable. At 20, Glover brought an unusual intensity to the role. His mannerisms, the nervous laugh, the hunched posture, the strange way he moved weren't in the script. Glover created them, building a character both pathetic and sympathetic. That authenticity came from somewhere deep. Glover was already known for eccentric choices, and George McFly showcased his commitment to character work. The film launched his career, but what happened next became Hollywood legend. When Back to the Future Part 2 began production, Glover refused to return, reportedly over salary disputes and creative differences with the script's message about wealth. The filmmakers used prosthetics and archive footage to include George anyway. Glover sued and won. His case established important precedents about actors' rights and likeness, but it also made him persona non grata in mainstream Hollywood. Instead of compromising, Glover chose independence. He appeared in River's Edge, wild at heart, and most memorably as the thin man in Charlie's Angels. But increasingly, he pursued experimental films, many of which he directed himself. His career became genuinely strange. Art films, bizarre performances, a reputation for intense, sometimes uncomfortable interviews. He toured with dramatic readings of his own books, performed on talking shows with odd props, became a cult figure. Now 60, Glover continues working on his own terms. He's appeared in American Gods and various independent projects. He rarely discusses Back to the Future, maintaining a complicated relationship with his most famous role. George McFly found courage in the film. Ironically, Glover showed courage by walking away from the franchise, choosing artistic integrity over commercial success. And beside George stood Lorraine, the girl who would become Marty's mother. Young Lorraine Baines, beautiful and full of life, gazing at the mysterious Calvin Klein who crashed into her life. That mixture of innocence and unexpected boldness, Lea Thompson made Lorraine both funny and touching. At 23, Thompson had trained as a ballet dancer before transitioning to acting. She'd appeared in Jaws 3D and Red Dawn, but Lorraine Baines showcased her range playing both the frumpy 1,980 Seconds housewife and the vivacious teenager of 1,955. The dual role was challenging. As the older Lorraine, she wore padding and adopted a defeated posture. As young Lorraine, she sparkled, bringing depth to a character who could have been one-dimensional. The scene where she aggressively pursues Marty is both uncomfortable and hilarious. Thompson played it perfectly. Back to the Future made her a star. She returned for both sequels, and throughout the late 80 Seconds became a fixture in Hollywood, some kind of wonderful. Howard the Duck. The Beverly Hillbillies' steady work kept her visible, but Thompson's greatest success came on television. Caroline in the City ran from 1,995 to 1,999, earning her Emmy and Golden Globe nominations. She proved herself as a comedic lead, carrying a show for 4 seasons. Unlike some of her co-stars, Thompson never stepped away. She worked consistently in TV movies, guest roles, and series. She appeared in Switched at Birth from 2011 to 2017, introducing herself to a new generation. She also moved behind the camera, directing episodes of various television shows. Now 63, Thompson remains active, recently appearing in The Rookie and various Hallmark movies. She maintains warm relationships with the Back to the Future cast, frequently attending reunions and conventions. She's married to director Howard Deutsch and has 2 daughters, both actresses, including Zoe Deutsch. If George and Lorraine represented the past finding happiness, Biff represented the obstacle they had to overcome. Biff Tannen, the bully's bully, shoving George McFly, waxing his car, attempting assault, making us hate him completely. Thomas F. Wilson created an iconic villain. Wilson was 26, a stand-up comedian trying to break into acting. Biff could have been a one-note thug, but Wilson added layers, stupidity. Yes, but also a pathetic quality that made him almost pitiable. Almost. The role required physical comedy and intimidation. Wilson delivered both. His performance across all 3 films playing Biff, his grandson Griff, and his ancestor Buford Mad Dog Tannen showcased impressive range. But here's the thing about playing cinema's most famous bully. Wilson is actually one of the nicest people in Hollywood. After Back to the Future, Wilson found steady work but never became a leading man. He appeared in Action Jackson, various TV shows, and countless comedies. The shadow of Biff followed him, which he embraced with humor. Wilson pursued multiple creative outlets. He's a talented musician, performing comedy songs, including the hilarious Biff's question song addressing the repetitive questions fans ask at conventions. He's also a voice actor, painter, and writer. His comedy background served him well. Rather than resenting typecasting, Wilson made it work for him. He became a convention favorite. Always gracious, always funny, always willing to pose for photos and sign autographs. Now 65. Wilson continues acting in character roles and voice work. He appeared in The Heat, Brothers Justice, and various TV shows. He's maintained friendships with the cast and remains beloved by fans. Wilson proved you can play a memorable villain without letting it define or limit you. He's built a diverse, satisfying career while remaining genuinely humble. While Biff terrorized Hill Valley's past, in Marty's present, someone else waited for him. His girlfriend, Jennifer Parker. Jennifer Parker, waving goodbye to Marty at the town square. Sweet. Supportive. The girl next door, waiting for her boyfriend to return from his impossible adventure. Claudia Wells brought warmth to a relatively small role. At 18, Wells was a fresh-faced actress landing her first major film. Jennifer didn't have much to do in the original. She appears at the beginning and end, setting up Marty's normal life, but Wells made her memorable with genuine charm. Then something unexpected happened. When Back to the Future Part 2 went into production, Wells couldn't return. Her mother had been diagnosed with cancer, and Wells made the difficult decision to step away from Hollywood to care for her. Elizabeth Shue replaced her in the sequels, and Wells's film career effectively ended. Most actors would have fought to return. Put career first. Wells chose family. For years, she disappeared from public view. While her co-stars became more famous, Wells lived quietly, eventually opening a clothing boutique called Armani Wells in Studio City, California, specializing in men's fashion. She did some acting here and there, small roles. Nothing major, but she'd made peace with her choice. In recent years, Wells has reconnected with Back to the Future fans. She attends conventions, signs autographs, and speaks warmly about her brief time in the spotlight. She's written about her experiences and her mother's battle with cancer. Now 58. Wells remains largely outside Hollywood, but has embraced her legacy. She appeared in a few independent films and maintains friendships with cast members. Her story is perhaps the most bittersweet, a career cut short by love and responsibility. Yet Wells has no regrets. She saved her mother's life, and that mattered more than fame. But Jennifer wasn't the only authority figure in Marty's life. There was also the stern voice of Hill Valley High. Mr. Strickland, you're a slacker. McFly, just like your father. Mr. Strickland's harsh voice cutting through the hallway. That disapproving glare. The principal who saw Marty as a lost cause. James Tolkien made Strickland memorable in limited screen time. Tolkien was 53. A character actor with decades of experience. He specialized in authority figures, military men, cops, tough guys. His craggy face and gravelly voice made him perfect for intimidating roles. Strickland appears briefly, but memorably in all three films, each time tormenting a different generation of McFlys. Tolkien played it straight, never winking at the audience, making the character genuinely stern rather than cartoonish. Back to the Future was just one of many roles for Tolkien. The same year, he appeared in Turk 182 in 1986. He became iconic as Commander Rick Jester Heatherly in Top Gun. barking at Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer. That role cemented his reputation as Hollywood's go-to hard-ass. Throughout the 80 seconds and 90 seconds, Tolkien worked constantly. Masters of the Universe. Dick Tracy. Problem Child. Boiling Point always. The tough cop. The strict commander. The stern authority. He had that kind of face and voice. Television provided steady work too. Guest appearances on countless shows. Small recurring roles. Always reliable. Tolkien retired from acting in the mid-2000s. Unlike some actors who fade reluctantly, he seemed ready to step away. He'd had a long, successful career playing exactly the kinds of roles he was perfect for. Now 93 years old, Tolkien lives quietly in retirement. He occasionally surfaces at Back to the Future events, but generally stays out of the spotlight. His legacy is dozens of memorable authority figures, each one making heroes' lives harder. He was the obstacle, the voice saying, "You can't," making the hero's eventual triumphs sweeter. And finally, there was one more McFly, Marty's brother, Dave. Dave McFly, sitting at the dinner table in his fast food uniform. Not much to say, not much presence until the timeline changes, and suddenly he's confident, successful, as a different person entirely. Mark McClure played the role with quiet competence. McClure was 27, already familiar to audiences as Jimmy Olsen in the Christopher Reeve Superman films. He'd been working steadily since childhood, building a solid career as a character actor. Dave McFly wasn't a large role, mostly reaction shots and dinner table scenes. But McClure understood the assignment. Show the before and after of timeline changes through subtle shifts in posture and confidence. What's interesting about McClure is his consistency. While some actors chase stardom, he built a career on dependability. After Back to the Future, he continued working steadily. He appeared in Apollo 13 as one of the NASA technicians, Superman 4, and countless TV shows, never the lead. Always solid in supporting roles. McClure also stayed connected to the Superman franchise for years, appearing in various related projects. He understood the value of franchise loyalty. Unlike co-stars who had complicated relationships with their iconic roles, McClure embraced them. He attended conventions, signed autographs, and remained gracious with fans. His career extended into the 2000s with occasional appearances. Though he's worked less frequently in recent years, he's maintained friendships within the Back to the Future and Superman communities. Now 67, McClure represents something valuable in Hollywood, the working actor who built a decades-long career without ever becoming a household name. No scandals, no drama, just steady work and professionalism. Dave McFly may have been the least memorable of the main characters, but Mark McClure's career demonstrates that success doesn't always mean stardom. And so, from Marty to Doc, from George and Lorraine to Biff, Jennifer, Strickland, and Dave, 8 lives intertwined by one magical film. 8 people, 8 different journeys. Michael J. Fox, the superstar who became a hero fighting Parkinson's disease. Christopher Lloyd, who found his defining role and kept working into his late 80 seconds. Crispin Glover, who chose artistic integrity over franchise fame. Lea Thompson, who built a lasting television career. Thomas F. Wilson, who embraced his villain role with humor. Claudia Wells, who stepped away for family and never regretted it. James Tolkien, the reliable authority figure now peacefully retired. Mark McClure, the working actor who proved success comes in many forms, from youthful glory to the reality of aging, from career peaks to quiet retirements, from illness to resilience, from Hollywood to independence. Time changes everything. The vibrant 20-somethings who filmed in 1984 are now in their 60 seconds, 80 seconds, even 90 seconds. Hair has grayed, faces have lined, bodies have aged, but something remains unchanged. The film itself, the performances captured forever, the joy they created. When we watch Back to the Future today, they're young again. Marty still races through time. Doc still shouts, "Great Scott!" George still finds his courage. They're frozen in that perfect moment. Eternal. That's the beautiful irony of cinema. A film about time travel that itself defeats time. The actors age, but their performances don't. They move forward through life while we can always return to 1985, to Hill Valley, to that magical adventure. Their lives since teach us something profound. Michael J. Fox's courage, Claudia Wells' devotion to family, Crispin Glover's artistic commitment, Christopher Lloyd's enduring passion. These are stories that matter beyond Hollywood. Time takes away youth and energy. It brings illness, struggle, change. But it can't erase what they created. It can't diminish the joy they brought millions. It can't remove them from our hearts. We're all time travelers, moving forward at 1 second per second, unable to go back. We age, we change, we face unexpected challenges, just like them. But if we're lucky, we leave something behind, something that endures. They left us Back to the Future. Whether their glory days continue or have faded, whether they're still in the spotlight or living quietly, whether they're fighting battles or enjoying peace, they remain forever part of cinema history, forever part of our memories, forever the faces we see when that DeLorean races toward destiny. The clock tower still stands, the lightning still strikes, the adventure never ends, because the best journeys are truly timeless.